Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another week of Growing with My Fellow Growers. I'm your host, Jack Greenstock, joined as always by an amazing panel. Well, panelists currently. I'm going to pass it over first this week to Noah the Grower. Welcome, Noah.
Welcome to you, Jack. Hello, everybody. I'm Noah D. Grow on Instagram with two E's my name. You can find me there. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you back. And because it is just the two of us, I mean, I'm sure maybe Tal or Spartan or somebody else might jump in. However, it is just the two of us right now. And I had tweeted or posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that today I wanted to do a best of and worst of. And I think it's always fun to start with the highlights, the good stuff, and strictly grow related. So we're talking best strain overall, best yield, best flavor, best media in your experience, best light, whatever. We're going to do all the best ofs and the worst ofs in our own experience and from what we've seen, or maybe our buddies locally, but at least stuff we've had hands on with. I'll limit it to that. And I guess I could start off by just picking, well, actually allowing Spartan Grown to enter the room. I need to turn the sound on so when somebody enters, play sound when someone joins. Okay. Because Spartan might have been waiting there for a minute and I just didn't notice it because it was silent in the background. But it looks like he's loading in right now. And as soon as I start to see him nod and things like that, I can assume he can hear me. So I'm going to pass it over to Spartan Grown. Welcome back.
Thanks, Jack. I am Spartan Grown. You can find me on Instagram at Spartan Grown, all one word with no spaces, or you can shoot me an email, spartangrown@gmail.com or russ@gmlarmy.com, and I can help you with all your growing and lighting needs, hopefully. Sorry, I was a little bit late there. I
You're
was
all good.
I wasn't waiting.
Well, we are going to be talking about, like I just mentioned at the top, we're going to be doing the best and the worst today. And I always think it's fun to start on a good note. So I'm going to throw it to you, and we're going to cover, it doesn't have to be super long and in detail. So you could just be like, my best X was this, my best Y was that, whatever. And you don't have to go super into detail because we're going to try and cover lots of ground. Best nutrient, best pot, best light, best genetic, best flavor, best yield. So starting with, uh, I'll say best flavor, and you could even break it down to like best indica, best sativa, best hybrid, or some other categorization, like number one, runner up, and then like second runner up, if you can't narrow it down to just one. But Spartan Ground, I'll pass it to you first and ask overall, general, if you had to pick one, best strain that you've grown so far.
Jesus. Probably, oh, it'd be a toss-up between probably GG4 because it was easier to grow, but it was still a great high, great yield, great medicinal. Or Mac 1, which is great everything else, but not great to grow. So one of those two, I would have to, if I had to pick one.
Considering there are thousands of strains at this point, I mean, narrowing it down to two is very difficult. But the fact that you're able to spit two off the top of the head is a really good sign, and a sign that those are two really good strains. And I would concur with both of those. And although Mac is not my personal favorite, I know tons and tons and tons of people that it's great medicine for. So I won't ever put down a strain that I see have lots of benefit, just like CBD. Not for me, but it helps a ton of people. So I'm not going to poo-poo that by any means. I did want to ask a question because I think there's some stupid questions, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not familiar with it, so maybe you guys aren't either. I'm seeing in the chat like a little crown and then like a number two next to Wiener DWC, and then like as no grow, it says like a crown and then like a number one. Do you know what that means, Spartan
Yeah.
or Noah?
Yeah, that means those are the current, it keeps track of comments, and it's the current number one commenter, current number two commenter. I think it does like three, maybe five. I can't remember.
I've seen three and four, maybe. I think there might be a
If
top five.
you,
So
yeah, if you make a comment in chat, you'll see in the top of your chat somewhere it'll show experience points. So you've gained so many experience points for chatting, and that's the number you're at.
I think
So
as no grows may be working their way towards a wrench as they are the number one commenter. I see
there you
them
go.
cheers and lots of people saying what's up. So cheers to you, Asno. If you hang around long enough, you might just get blessed with the wrench. And speaking of a blessing, we've got the American one in the room with us now.
Oh,
Cheers,
shut
Sal. Why don't
up.
you?
Oh, hello. Hello, everyone. I'm the American one on the YouTube and the American one underscore with 18s on the IG. I'm a little late, but I'm glad I made it.
We're glad you made it too, and I'm just glad that you weren't telling me to shut up. That's what got me cracking up over here. Quite the intro there. Welcome, Tao. Shut up. All right, hey everybody, it's Tao. But no, that was great. Tao, welcome in. We were talking about the best of the best this week, and Spartan Grown just started off by telling us his best overall strain. We're not going to get super deep into it, so we're going to
Oh,
just do kind of brief answers, and then we're going to do tons of categories.
I
So
thought
I'll
you were
pass it
saying you were
next
talking
to
about me.
the best of the best
Yeah,
humans. You
that's
would be
it.
on the top of that list for sure. But I'm going to pass it next to Noah the Grower. And you could do, like I said, indica sativa hybrid, like a first and then like a runner up, like Tau or Spartan, I should say, and or however you feel like breaking it down. No, but if you had to say like, if you had to pick one, I remember you just the other day when I said if your grow was burning down, which one you said. So it might be that one. But maybe for the listeners who weren't here that day, what's your best strain you've grown so far?
Well, we're being brief, so definitely duct tape will be in on it. The strain that I have is it's very close to it's very, very close to GG4. But it has some very good cookie kind of undertones, if that's your thing. A lot of throwbacks to like kind of OG Kush. It's very, it just, this string is so powerful. I'll tell you right now, I have a brand new, well, I guess it's like 8 months old now, carbon filter. And if I'm growing duct tape in that run, I can smell it 50 feet from my house when the exhaust fan is on. That's how powerful it is. I can smell that strain in. I have this like Tupperware tote that I keep glass jars in, sealed glass jars in the Tupperware tote. I can smell the GG4 notes of that duct tape through it. But my favorite strain is actually is the strain that is in my bio on Instagram. That's Hawaiian Haze, but I got hit really hard. I didn't really. I was only a few years in, and I had gotten so lucky, and I had never gotten spider mites, and I got a clone from a buddy, and they had to have been basically, super mites because he was spraying it, and he had quote unquote thought he had it under control, and it just completely took over my whole room, and I had to literally just start over again. I probably could have fought it, but I got tired of fighting it, and I lost that Hawaiian Haze. Hawaiian Haze. This plant would grow huge buds, kind of a sativa leaning. It was a hybrid, but it was sativa, and I've never seen anything like it before or since. And I didn't really realize because I was, like I said, it was only within like this is like 10, 11, 12 years ago. And yeah, I really wish I had that one back. So those are the two I'd put up there.
I love those great white buffaloes, as sad as it is, the ones that got away. It kind of
Yeah.
keeps us wanting to hunt for new and better stuff and finding stuff that might be similar or better. But yeah, it can be a challenge sometimes because a lot of the genetics change and a lot of people don't hang on to and keep working with the same stuff. It reminds me a little bit of my spiked punch, which is hinting a little bit, but I'm gonna say next Tau. If you had to pick one or a couple, maybe best indica sativa hybrid, however you want to categorize it, what's the best strain that you've grown thus far? If you had to narrow it down to a few.
Well, that's a little tough because they're all like children to me. But that time wreck that I had for a long time was the best growing. It was just I could not fail at it. No matter what I did, it would come out primo, and it was killer all the time. No matter what, the smoke was insanely good. So on a cultivation standpoint, that would be my mark, my favorite. And then over the years, I had done an outdoor crop once, and I had quite a bit of blueberry in there. GJ Short blueberry, the original, and that stuff was my go-to for the whole entire year after I harvested that. And I had plenty of other stuff too. That was my favorite at that time. And another one, like I had gotten what someone said was Exodus cheese, a bag of it, and it had seed in it. And I grew that out, and that was some of my favorite for a couple of years, maybe more than a couple of years. So I would say those three are the ones that stand out to me. And then over the years, from bag seed and unknowns, there was ones that were really killer too. I had one that I had a number 15, I called it, and it was just like velvet frost all over the entire plant, and it was really killer too. But yeah, when we get the time machine, I would love to be able to fetch all the ones that I had at one point, but But yeah, that's what I got on that.
It's a tough one. For me, it's easy because it ticks a lot of these boxes. It was the biggest yielder. It was the most potent and one of the best tasting, if not the best tasting. And it was called Spiked Punch. I was using the tag Jack's Spiked Punch because that's what the guy who sent it to me with the bag, he like wrote this is for Jack, and then he wrote Spiked Punch, and then he like wrote all the other strains on there. But I thought it was called Jack Spiked Punch for whatever reason. But it also has a little glue in the lineage. I'm going to share my screen here for just a second to show some of the buds from that harvest. But it kind of had like a pinkish hue. When it cured, it could be more like a mix of orange and purple and green. This was one of the buds. You can see that's like my thigh in the background. It's pretty chunky. It's kind of hard to represent the size sometimes, but I'll go down a little bit and I could show you what some of the live plant looked like. This is the spiked bunch right here. And the lineage, for those who are listening, I'm going to read it off. It's from Doja DNA, also known as vegan_Doja. It's a purple punch crossed to Del Norte Fuel. Del Norte Fuel is it's a crazy cross. I thought I had it written out here, but I don't. There's GG4 in it though, and it's similar to the Velvet Punch, except for I think there's a little bit more G in this. So, but there's GG4, there's Mexican Sativa. Um, I should just pull it up notes, but it's definitely some fire stuff. And the good news is I sent all the F1s that I had back to the breeder because he had run out of them. This is a little bit earlier in flower. Um, but he made F2s and he made a bunch of them. So he's going to be sending some more of those to me. So I'm pretty stoked on that. Got a little foxtail. I was growing this under 315 CMH in a 3 by 1.5, which is like a square foot space. And it was meant for 9 square feet. So got hot and a little foxtail, but definitely frosty as hell. Super potent, super good tasting. I've actually still got that light and I just moved. And the new tent that I just got is I believe it's going to be a 3 by 3 and then a 1 by 3 because it's like a 4 by 3 in total. But then there's like a flower section and then there's like the veg. And I described this on my new tent episode a few weeks back. So it actually just got delivered today. So I got that. I got the upgraded VivoSun exhaust, which is kind of like a replica of the AC Infinity, where it's got the built-in little sensor readout as well as like the turn on and off, so you don't have to get like a Rainbird or whatever to sense the temperature, humidity. So that's a nice little perk. And it's got the same thing with like the tent where the cords feed out, and then there's a little spot for it to hang up, so you can kind of see the display on the front of the tent before you even open up the zippers or anything, or decide to look through the window, or wherever, however you decide to look in there. But getting back to the best of the best, I want to go into the worst now before we move on to the next category.
Yeah, before we move on, we're doing show and tell. Can I show my time rec?
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Yeah, let's. I have share screen on for everybody. So if you have these available in photos and you want to, I will say that I think of the three of the four of us had something that had GG4 in it. So that's a good indication. Or it was just GG4 itself. And in the past, I've remembered similar things. And
all right, am I on now?
all right, Tal, we got your.
So
yeah, we had some ladies in the background for a second there, but now we got some lady plants.
That's the time rec right here. And yeah, my camera, I guess at that time, a little fuzzy.
See, I like this kind of purple.
Yeah, there's a little bit
where it's a mix of green and purple. You got like the purple in the veins.
Yeah,
This to me is like the perfect.
Go ahead.
Perfect looking plant in terms of like color and development. I do love that, like the deep purples, and I think might be a little more photogenic. But in terms of like the smoke, I feel like just a little touch of purple, you can still keep it nice and flavorful and nice and potent. Where you go too purple, I feel like it gets more on the medicinal and can have a very specific flavor. But there's a lot of diversity in purple, so I'm still working on 50 strains of purple, so I won't knock them too hard.
Jack's Spice, it was called. The one that
Jack's Spiked Punch, like a spiked punch bowl.
And was that part of your Velvet Punch?
It's like a sister of it. It's from the same breeder, and a lot of the genetics are the same. However, there I think is more cookies in the Velvet Punch. There's like a Thin Mint Girl Scout cookie that I don't think is in the Spiked Punch.
Because here is an example of your Velvet Punch right here. Well, that was grown in the same tent at the same time as that. Look, yeah, that has a lot more frost on it right there. You see that?
Yeah, it's from the Purple Punch mom.
Yeah. And I remember
the F2, I took
the same kind of purpling on the leaves.
This
I sampled that plant. It
yeah,
tasted like watermelon.
this particular grow, I was using my water from my hash run to water these plants, and the water was purple, and I think that's why a lot more purple exhibited. I could be totally off mark, but generally that time rack really didn't get purple. It was weird. It was an anomaly. So, but yeah, I love both of those plants in that harvest. That velvet punch was beautiful, dude. But yeah, all right, that's enough of all that.
Good stuff. Well, now that we had some of the best of the best, I'm going to be the one to be the negative Nancy and go to the worst of the worst because mine's an easy one. I've mentioned it on the show in the past, but worst strain I've grown by far was called more cowbell. It just low yield, low potency, didn't look good, didn't smell good, didn't taste good. There was really nothing good about it. And I tried it from 710 Labs, who usually grows pretty good stuff, and theirs sucked too. So I think it might just be something with that particular strain. And not even going to mention the breeder, but they've had bred a lot of other stuff that's really fire. So I'm not trying to like put anybody down, but I will just say in my experience, multiple times that one was not where it's at. So I'll pass it next to Spartan Grown and see if you have any that ring a bell that you wouldn't grow again, or it's just like, man, that was clearly the worst one I've tried so far.
For me, it's like I never have, and I never will buy seeds from Nirvana seeds again. And it hasn't ruined the strain for me because I picked a legendary strain, and this was early in my growing career, and I got some seeds from them, and one of the strains was AK-47, and I grew that thing, and it was the worst herm till this day that I've ever seen in my life. Like so bad, like so many sacks on that thing, and I grew like three or four of the seeds, and every one was like that. And I was like, okay, I'm not growing any more of these, and threw them out. And I would still grow AK-47 if it came around, probably, but I definitely wouldn't be interested in anything from, and I'll say it, Nirvana seeds, because that was my experience.
Nothing wrong with that. If you're gonna get AK-47, I think the person to get it from is Serious Seeds, not Nirvana Seeds anyway. So that goes into why I wrote 50 Strains of Green. Is to there's 100 people that can say they have AK-47. It's a gun. It's not a you know you can name any strain after you could call it M16 or something, but it's a bunch of people. I think it's like you could have 1,000 people make a song called Purple Rain, but who sings Purple Rain? It's Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince. Nobody else is going to be recognized for Purple Rain. And I think eventually Cannabis will get to that point. And 50 Strains of Green and Purple are attempts to highlight the individuals I feel were the ones who originally made the ones that were worthwhile to grow. Because maybe somebody did beat Serious Seeds to that name, but they're the one who won all the cups. They're the one who put out the phenotypes that have been bred with. They're the one who people want the stuff from and continue to make it throughout the generations. And interestingly enough, with that one in particular, they shifted throughout the time. They didn't keep it consistent. So as things got fruitier, they started picking for fruitier stuff in their breeding process. So it wasn't like they kept a single mom and dad the entire time. They started, and even if they did, they'd you know work ways to make it express certain traits and things like that, or tell people to look for certain things, which you can do in offspring. You can help guide them and say like these are the desirable phenos. Subcool did that. I know that Serious Seeds and others have done that as well. Like avoid this one, they might herm, or these might have like a sandalwood flavor, but it's not potent or something. If it smells like sandalwood, it's going to be really like weak or something. So there's all these weird little things you figure out
That's
as you
too
just
bad
grow a
because I
bunch of them.
love sandalwood smell.
Me too. And usually it actually comes with a strong high. I don't know why I actually picked that one out because almost always it's like a super strong haze. And I think the reason I might have is because I think like 10 to 20% of the hazes are actually really good highs. And then like 80% of them are really weak, actually. If you grow like the old school haze. And a lot of it, I guess, is like incensey and sandalwoody, but might just like herm on you and not have a great high. And you grow it for like 16 weeks. And that's a real kick in the shins. But anybody out there who's had that experience, let us know. But I'm curious, Noah the grower, what is one strain you would never grow again, or the worst that you ever came across in your own garden?
So clear back when I was growing in the closet. So within the first year, I was just kind of hunting at new strains, and this guy was like, I got this big bud skunk plant. Holy cow. Huge buds. I mean, literally just there was just no like I mean, it had to be like 9% THC. I mean, it was complete trash. At the time, weed was worth a lot too. And I just I don't even know what I did with it. I might have given it away. I think I gave it away. I think I just gave it to my friend. I was like, oh hell no. And then you know, I've said it before, but the most expensive clone that I ever bought was within a couple of years ago, and it was Rainbow Belts, and that just did not work out for my room. And I've heard so many people talk about it. It really sucked because it set me back quite a bit too, because I had it really backlogged because I just went into it kind of faithfully. And like right now, so like right now I have some new stuff, and I'm like real cautious about putting anything in, more than one stage. I actually just threw the new ones in twos just to get them in there and then see what they are. And if it's trash, I'm just gonna, get rid of the clones because,
You
like I
know the
said,
next question, Noah.
dude,
What are the new ones, man? What are the new ones? You can't just say, "Oh, I got some new stuff," and
But
just gloss over it.
before that, I just have to comment. I know a guy who moves over 1,000 pounds a month here in California. He sources and flips a lot of the. He's one of the bigger providers to the legal market. He was telling me Rainbow Belts is shit.
it's
He hates it.
trash.
It's not potent. It looks nice. It might smell a little bit decent, but it's like the total. I shout out 2020 Mendocino, Adam. He used to call it Instagram weed. It looks
Yes.
good. It might even smell a little good, but like it doesn't even get you high. It's like a 5 or 6 out of 10 on the smoke, and it's just like leaves so much to be desired. Even though it has a cool name, even though it might smell nice or look really really pretty and be frosty as all get up, but I don't know if it's a 9% THC thing or if it's just the wrong terpene profile or wrong cannabinoid profile, but I haven't come across a lot of rainbow buds that I was like, wow, this is really good. And that's why I'm cautious sometimes to blanket recommend a whole breeder's stable because
Hmm.
I like that breeder. Archive put out a ton of great shit,
Yeah,
but not every single one's a winner. And I think even they'll admit they're not going to have like rainbow belts like 7, 8, and 9 or something lines. It's going to be like they're going to go back to like Dosey and other stuff that was more popular and did better or is more desired for one reason or another.
I went there recently and got the new strains. I'll tell you about right now. I got Baby Yoda, and I got
I've seen that in your
Chem.
garden.
Yep, Chem 91 crossed with Dosey Does, and then I from a buddy I got Lemon Tree, but they were still selling Rainbow Belts, and it was still like I want to say it was $80 a clone, or for sure it was 60, but I think it was 80, and I was just shocked.
I
Like,
believe it.
it wasn't like super bad. It just wasn't good. You know what I mean? It was immediately like, it's
For
out of
people that know
here.
good shit, if you
Yes.
know really good shit, like
Yeah,
subpar stuff will not stand, even if it looks great.
totally.
That's the thing. Like you could grow hemp that looks
No,
frosty.
you have to change that a little bit. If you know good stuff, par stuff won't fucking fly.
Yep.
Even on par stuff, you're kind of like, okay, well, that's all right. When
Yeah, seven
before,
out of
I
ten
would be
when
the
you're
first
used to
one to
9.
admit, before my first year, 2 years growing, that par shit, the stuff that I think is just like right down the middle, I would be fucking thrilled to have. I've been
I
fucking
agree.
thrilled to have it. But once your tolerance gets up, you just like, I don't know, you're kind of
I
wasting
don't
your
even know if
time.
it's a tolerance thing. I'll go on a tolerance break or like be really busy with work. I think it's a understanding of quality. Once you move up to that threshold, once you understand what like Wagyu tastes like, eating ground chuck is a little bit more difficult because you got used to the finer things in life. It's almost like a cautionary tale. Like, don't grow unless you're ready to think that all other weed is mids,
Yeah,
except for
uh,
like really good
yeah, just
homegrown
start.
or like high quality craft.
Yeah, be prepared to ruin your dispensary experience right away if you home grow. You will not want to go
You'll
back.
just like go in and be so disappointed. Like if you are forced to at any point go to a dispensary after you start growing and get used to really good, fresh quality, self-selected, self-grown to the best quality standard you can possibly achieve. It's tough to get the harvested early, minimum effort, minimum care, and maximal try to profit on it type corporate garbage. And even the people that are trying their best, it's just hard to survive the legal market testing, sitting on shelves, often not refrigerated, often not out of the sunlight. So I, you got to feel a little bit bad for some of these people that are just trying to make it in the market. And some of them do a better job than others. But Tao, getting back on the worst of the worst, speaking of the worst, corporate mids, what's worse than that? But what's the worst strain that you grew that reminded you of maybe corporate mids?
Well, only one really stands out, and I for a long, long time I was in red state on the left coast, no, the right coast, So I didn't have access to any of like a lot of the stuff that you guys did. But someone had sent me banana kush, and I was all excited. Oh, I'm gonna get some banana flavor and all that. And, it was a dud, and it didn't even taste like banana. It was a wasted effort, and like that's the kind of thing that like whenever I'm gonna give seeds or sell seed, whatever, I'm like, it's worth your effort because it is an effort to go from seed to harvest. And if it's not what you're expecting, even if it's decent, if it's not what you were expecting, if you're like I was expecting banana, I was disappointed. So like that's like yeah, I would hate to give away seeds that weren't worth the effort. So like I tell people it's untested, but like yeah, it is. When you think about it, if you go from seed to harvest, that's a lot of time and
At
effort.
least
So
100 days.
yeah, so you don't want to waste either effort or time anytime. So, but yeah, that's the only one I really think of. I love it all, you know. And then there was some that were like I had what I called the spider plant, which was just
I
like
remember that.
yeah, it took up the entire tent, and it was like I have pictures of it somewhere. I could
Well, I
definitely.
was thinking about that really runty plant that you had that was like a fern and never ended up growing. You had it for like
Oh
2 years and it
yeah,
stayed like 7 inches tall.
that like yeah, like that's what Dr. MJ Coco was like. Why are you wasting your time on that? I'm like, yeah, it really wasn't for to have it smoke and stuff. It was more novelty, but yeah, that was still good to grow out and see what happened, and it just kind of died on its own. I couldn't get it to come back, but yeah, that spider plant it grew. It was like horrible. It took up. It was the most spindly sativa I ever grew, and the smoke wasn't that bad, but it wasn't nothing special. Um,
That's always
that
a bummer.
that could be partially my fault. Cultivating it. I could have maybe let it go on. Who knows? But
Probably needed a more natural environment.
right,
Sounds like a
maybe
land race
needed
that would have been much
more
happier in
light.
like India.
Yeah, maybe needed a lot more light, and a lot more time would have helped it out. But those are the only two. And even that one, even the spider plant, I loved watching it grow. And it was just like, it was pretty crazy.
The plant will humble you and teach you a lot for sure. I like the sub cool standard. I want to be able to find something dank in a 5 pack and hopefully hit, I'd say 7 or 8 like out of 10 of whatever is on the description in terms of like flavors and potencies and types of high. That might be an unrealistic standard because most breeders are not at that mark or even close. You have to buy a 10 pack, hunt the entire thing, and hope you find one that's even close. Subcool is selling 5 regular seeds, so you might get 2, maybe 3 females in a pack, and you're still gonna find something killer. I think that's a high bar, but that's why when I released the Velvet Punch, I took it to F3. I had 100+ testers at the F2 generation and a similar number at the F3 generation. Worked it myself and did stress testing, and I felt like it was at that mark where I could pop 5 and I'd find 3 really good females or 2 really good females every time for several grows, even in shitty conditions. It had great flavor. And so that's the first and only thing that I've ever put out. I could have crossed it to every hype strain there is and sold crosses of it crossed to that and never tested anything like most breeders. But I think that it's important to keep quality standards.
So yeah, this is that what I call the spider plant. And you can see how it was. It took up the entire space of that 4x4 tent. I laid it down a little, but you could just see how into the internodal length it's crazy. And but it was a healthy plant. It just yeah went all over, and it was
Huge.
very stretchy internodes.
Hard to maintain a plant like that. If you knew before you flowered it, it'd probably
Right.
be.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about growing from seed is it's a mystery sometimes.
Well, I should have known because it's like I think it was like super skunk by Hayes.
I was just
And
gonna ask you what was the high like? It looks like it's one of those ones that was racy.
yeah, like I was saying, I probably should have let it go a lot longer. It was definitely wasn't a couch lock. And yeah, from what I remember, it kind of had like it had a little soap taste actually.
That's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't my favorite, but Like I said, I love watching them all. I like checking it all out. You know.
I'm with you there. I love the diversity. That's why I'm really excited about the new tent setup that I got, because I'm gonna just keep everything in a constant state. Like I'm gonna almost run close to a perpetual, but as close as I can get in that kind of tent setup. But mainly just actually keeping clones now is something I'm gonna dedicate myself more to. I've got the oxyclone with the little permaclone collars. I realized I never take them out of the box. The last time I cloned, I was still using the oxyclone because I would just scrub the shit out of them and get them to work because I'm just frugal as fuck. Like even after I bought the ones that are easier to clean, I was like going the extra mile to wash the original. I was like, well, hey, they worked the first time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of guy. So, um, moving out though, when I looked at them, they had just fallen apart at this the point, like the time and weren't stored adequately. But I'm gonna have the clone set up all the time. I'm gonna keep the flower running with at least two plants. I got the bigger. I actually told myself, oh, I'll scale down to I think it was a 3x2, and it had like a 1x2 and then a 2x2. But then I realized my earth box won't fit in the 2x2, and I didn't want to. I could probably get a city picker and make that work, or I saw earth box makes these like little 11 inch on the bottom and like 12-inch top versions. That's like a half of an earth box, and I could just get two of them side by side, have an individual plant in each one. But I
Get
really
you a
like the
city picker.
dual.
Get you a
Like,
city picker. Get up filling that spot. Hey,
well, I already bumped it up to the 4x3, so now I've got a 3x3 and a 1x3, and so I'm going to start with just the one and my old light. But I was looking, Spartan, at 3x3 lights. That's something that you guys don't have yet. Your tent light, you have 4x4s and 5x5s. You don't have a 3x3,
I don't know if I'm
not in the tent
allowed to
light.
announce it, but we are in development of a 3x3 tent light. So that'll be
There you go. So maybe I should just hold
maybe
off at
before
least a
the
little
end of the
bit.
year.
I saw my grow has a pretty decent one, but admittedly they drop off at the corners more than I like at 1,000 in the center. So if I'm gonna do it, I want to do it right. And so I might wait a little bit. But I was even looking, admittedly, at fucking Mars Hydro, the FCE 3000. That thing busts out a pretty decent. Um, but again, the corners drop off. They just don't have enough bars. The thing that GML is doing right with a tent light is just basically overloading it, like putting way
Well, that's
more
the
than it looks
thing.
like you need.
Well, this is the Spartan grown viewpoint, all right, not GML viewpoint. But for me, looking at it in the industry of grow lights, they tried to design a grow light that fits for both commercial and the home grower. And honestly, they're really designing for the commercial grower because that's the vast majority of the lights that are sold. That's just the bare facts. So when you look at a grow light and you're like, why in the world would you design the lights to drop off on the edges like that? The reason because that they're designed to be hung next to each other. If you took those tent lights and put those next to each other, you would burn the living shit out of your plants in the middle where the overlap is between the two lights because it's designed to have that same PPF all the way to the edge. Well, if you do that with two lights next to each other, you're going to have even higher PPF right where those two overlaps are. And that doesn't work. So there is a reason behind it. It's not like, it never made sense to me. I'm like, that's stupid. Why wouldn't it just be even all the way across? That's why. So what we did was like, okay, this is a tent light to like put it in people's mind. This isn't a commercial light. This isn't a light to hang next to another one like it. This is to be hung by itself or in a tent. And that's what those are exactly. That we put those extra diodes to the outside to give that even PPF all the way across.
Well, couldn't you just separate the lights further? You don't just don't have them so close to each other.
You could separate the lights further apart. Um,
It just when they already
it,
have
it would
the form
depend.
factors to fit those
Right.
spaces, like
They're already
a lot of them would be in like 2x4 or 4x4, which is easier to scale out, where like the 3x3 just doesn't make sense in a lot of cases. So you almost have to buy a purpose-built
Well, if
thing.
you have higher
And I
height
think
too, like if you could hang it higher and then spread them out, you could do that. You'd have to run more electricity through them probably to get the extra PPF to compensate for the height. But you could do that.
and you burn out your
It'd be
diodes
a little bit
faster.
more inefficient maybe. Unless you can eliminate lights that way by lighting up more space, then that might be a more efficient way to go. So there's so many factors to the
It's a
exact
huge,
specific
yeah,
space.
it's like a physics equation, really, at the end of the day, to maximize the efficiency of a system like that. It's really impressive when you see what people can do with multi-racked systems, 2 and 3 layers in a single room. I mean, I've seen some very, very, very impressive operations in regulated and unregulated markets, whether it's a garage grow, a basement, or man, they've got bunkers. People dig shit out underground. And they've been doing it for decades, so it's nothing new, but it's just really amazing when you see it. And getting back on the best and the worst, I want to go next to flavor. I know a lot of people are flavor chasers. Dabbing has become more popular, and even just in the flower, everybody wants to taste the joint. Spartan Grown, what's the best flavor you've come across so far? You can even give a couple.
The best flavor, I think I've had the same answer for this for a while now too, because nothing's beat it yet. And I don't know if it's even fair because it was two flowers mixed together, but it was that joint of Mac 1 and chopped cookies mixed together. And it was still the best thing I've ever smoked. Uh, I don't know what it was. This is all those flavors together just meshed so well. And if you took those two plants and bred them together, they probably wouldn't make it anywhere near what that was. I think to reproduce that, you'd just have to get one of each and do that. And it was like a 50-50 blend. It wasn't like more of this one or more of that one. It was about 50-50. But goddamn, it was so good. What a good mix.
I love doing weed salad, and I think that's a great way because like most people can grow at least 2 strains, and then most people are going to want one for the morning time and for the evening time, and then you could mix them together in the afternoon if that's your thing, and even
Well,
do
I'm
like
really like I'm really a big preacher when it comes to the medicine side of things and the oil, right? And I do cannabis oil RSO. And when I make that, I blend. I'm really a big preacher of full spectrum and get as wide of a spectrum as you can to get the best effect. And that works the same way with flour. So if you're taking two flowers that are different from each other and you're blending them together, you're getting more of that range by consuming them both together, or one right after another, I suppose. Then if you were just keep one going and then, wait till that's gone and then switch to the other. I think you're better off mixing them together and enjoying them together.
I'm with that. I like to do that. Like I have a rolling tray that my grinder I push down on a bud and it just breaks up the bud, and I've got a little plastic card that I'll use to scrape it around, and then I've got a little scooper to pack my bowls with, and often we'll have more than one strain going because like maybe I wake up in the morning and don't want to smoke what I was smoking last night. So I'll break out something new. And eventually I'll mix those two things together. And often to fantastic results. That's why I continue to do it so much. The entourage effect kind of, I think, stimulating and just opening more keys, opening more locks in the medical system. There's just so many benefits it's like, have you ever gone swimming for a while? Like you're out like at the lake or something. You just swim around for a bunch all day and like you're just
Oh
having
yeah.
fun, having a great time. And then the next day you're just like, damn, I'm like pretty fucking tired and sore. And even that night you sleep real well and you're like, I worked muscles I didn't even know I had. Like my hands are tired, my feet are tired, my ankles, my neck, like calves,
Or
like
just
every single
if you're
muscle.
out in the deep water for a long period of time, just out swimming for like an hour, 2 hours or whatever, and then you get out of the deep water and you go to just like have your legs just lift you up out of the water. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
I can stand again.
I just got, whoa, way heavier. So yeah,
It's
that's a wild feeling.
and I just feel like similar thing with like stimulating the entourage effect where you don't even realize there's so many things within your body that you can tap into. And maybe you needed something that you didn't realize, like that the cross of those two things, and it brings out the flavor. I think it's like a good steak might be great, but there is like, certain seasonings or sauces or things like that that can bring it up a little bit. Some people think that's sacrilege, but maybe steak's the wrong example. But there's many foods that pair well together. I'll say that. And I'll pass it next to Noah the Grower. What's your best flavor, top few?
Well, it's funny that Spartan earlier said that the Mac 1 is kind of or you said it's hard to grow. The plant that I used to grow was platinum, and it was just such a finicky plant. Like sometimes it would grow really well, and when it hit, it was like the best. But when it didn't hit, it was just subpar. But when it hit, like it was the same thing. You could smell that throughout the room. You could smell it through the jars. I mean, it was just terpy, very, very good taste and stuff. So I would go with that.
I've heard many good things about it, and it was one of those things that got bred. I think that breeder used it in a lot of projects because, from what I remember, it was kind of like Rasta Jeff has a rise male. I got a motorcycle going by. Sorry about that, y'all. But he has a rise male that he calls like King Solomon or something like that, and it he was using it in the legal market in Colorado for a long time. So you could see like I'd breed this to that, and maybe this thing has 18% THC, and breeding their rise to it brought it to 21%, and still gave it good flavor and good effects and things like that. So platinum I think was a similar thing, and just like purple punch for a lot of people, it added good flavor, a lot of frost, and kind of modernized some of the older genetics that maybe weren't to the bag appeal standards of what many are demanding today. So Purple Punch was crossed to so much for that very reason. And it's interesting, like the toolbox breeders have to work with and the different effects and flavors that they can bring out with it. But I want to pass it next to Tao and ask, what was your best flavor you've come across so far?
I guess ironically, it's my two favorite ones: that blueberry and that cheese. I like them both a real lot, and yeah, even the cross with the blueberry butter cheesecake, it ended up being a really good mix. Um,
People have been loving that from what I see growing it.
yeah, yeah, a lot of people have been asking about Stacy too, the blueberry time to time wreck. Yeah, vice versa actually. But yeah, and I don't know the DJ Short. I was using the blueberry from AK Bean Brains, so that was a little different than the DJ Short blueberry. AKB Brains actually tasted like blueberry, whereas the DJ Short kind of did. It had a little bit, but not like the AKB Brains offering, which was like basically blueberry through and through.
Was it more blueberry like the candy blueberry flavor or like a natural blueberry like you're eating blueberries,
I would say
like
more a
the
candy-ish,
berry?
like yeah, definitely a little more
Because
candy.
I noticed like I wouldn't call Velvet Punch grapey. I would call it grape candy because it
Right.
has that methylanthanolate. That is in some grapes like Concord grape, but most people don't eat that other than jam or jelly or whatever. And it's just interesting where you come across it and what you're used to. Because like I eat blueberries on occasion, often with like I get a little acai bowl and it's with like blueberry, strawberry, and banana. And when it's mixed on top of acai, it's a little harder to pick out just the blueberry flavor. I rarely eat them by themselves. It's usually mixed into something like that, or even like in a muffin. I don't like them enough to eat them just raw, like I do a lot of other fruit.
I fucking
So
love
that's a harder one
blueberries.
for me.
I'll eat them raw
They can be.
by the handful. I just love them.
I love the cannabis blueberry, DJ Short, and others that I've come across, but I don't love them enough. I'll eat more celery than I'd eat blueberries. Like that's
I'll
a
eat
crazy thing to
both.
say,
Fucking give
probably.
me some peanut butter too, and we'll fucking have a party. Put them all together.
Now I'm just making myself hungry. Talking about flavors.
You gotta eat a lot of berries, guys. I'm telling you, Trenton.
It's
I
good
seen
for
it,
you for sure.
dude.
Dark berries.
And I'm telling you right now, like literally, at everything that you buy. Remember, I said this too. Everything you buy when it comes to food, like I'm a health junkie. Strawberries are one of the number one things. If you buy strawberries,
Oh,
you
I still
gotta
like this.
pony up for organic because literally, I seen a video where a guy took some strawberries from the store that were not organic. He pressed them and then he tested them, and the pesticide level on it was so high. He said he could have used it to spray his crop with. So organic strawberries is a big one. Sorry to go on a non-cannabis rant there, but I'm just telling you that's a.
So
It's
the
I'm a
important.
cheap,
health guy,
so
so
the cheap home grow tip from the
yeah,
local grower is go get those close to expired strawberries that are on sale,
yes.
crush them up, and you got some fucking pesticides.
That's not where I thought you were gonna go, but
Hilarious. I was gonna say you could like cut them and freeze them or make them into a smoothie that day. I was gonna say because I bought them from the farmer's market and just as an experiment got like one little, not a whole flat, just a single little basket of the organic and the non-organic, and I just sat them in the fridge. Organic 2 days, they started to rot. Non-organic lasted 2 weeks before they started to like mold and rot. I was like, man, I'm gonna buy the organic ones and eat them quick. Wash them and just eat them like that day. Get it and eat it ASAP. Don't fucking plan on your fridge keeping it good for like a month. It's not happening. You gotta eat fresh food fast. Get it while it's ideally harvest it from your own garden, like Spartan and Noah and maybe Tao and others are doing. I need to be more of an example of that myself and grow more food. But on the flavor topic, I think we all said our favorites so far, and I don't know, maybe I didn't say my favorite, but we'll get into the worst as well on
You
flavors.
did. You said the Jack's
Spiked punch, yeah.
Jack's
I said
punch.
that
Yeah.
best flavor, best potency, etc., best yield. So that covered all those boxes for sure. So and the flavor of that one was just kind of like the grape candy as well as strong gas. And I'm just a gas person. I like OGs, and it had a the Del Norte fuel came through strong, and man, fuel hound over here. I even like gasoline, like real gasoline smell, like at the gas station. Ever from when I was a little kid, I like the smell of gas and I like the smell of skunk. So it's like I was kind of destined to be a stoner, I guess. But even like if you ever go to a raceway, like race fuel, and or like jet fuel. I've never smelled like kerosene, diesel, all of it. Fucking, I love all the smells of all the gas. I even
Kerosene
like
does
a
smell
strain.
very good. Oh, kerosene smells really good.
I like all of them, dude. I'm weird like that, but I don't like huff it or anything. But like when I'm around it naturally, I'm not like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. It's like, unless you start to get like lightheaded or some shit or get a headache from it, like that's where you're like, oh fuck, this is not good. But yeah, I don't know, an old car, even just like idling next to you at the stop, and not as much of that out here with the smog now, but. Uh, I think they kind of let the older ones go, but getting back on the grow. Uh, Worst flavor. Um, I would say I've definitely come across some body odor chem, like chem D, has had some like BO phenos that I've found that were not the most pleasant on the nose or the mouth. They're super potent, but I'd rather have like a Donny burger that's like more gassy, garlicky, funky than like literally smells like the guy I played basketball with who forgot to wear deodorant in the summertime. And he'd like put his arms up with the ball, and I was just like, oh my God. Like, yeah, that's not what I'm trying to smoke on. But I think Spartan has some similar dislikes to some of those types of flavors. So I'm curious, what's your least favorite flavor you've come across or
Yeah,
grown?
preaching to the choir on that for sure, man. I don't like the body odor. I mean, I think that naturally to most people, if it wasn't weed, you smelled it and you recoil. I'm kind of like, I don't care if it's weed. I've smelled so much weed that smells so good. That's not an excuse just because it's weed to make that exception because it's just weed. But I understand if the high is really good, it goes with it. And I'll still smoke that stuff if I haven't before to try it because I am a sucker for that. I always like trying new strains. But that's probably that or anything that's like physically like astringent to me. There's some strains, some of the citrus strains will really like when I smoke it, they really are like feel astringent to the back of my throat and I mean every time. So that's just not pleasant to smoke for me. So those that too. So but the flavor itself, I don't mind it. It's so I guess to truly answer your question, it'd have to be more on the foul side of things is what I don't like.
I could also see the terps being too, I mean, they're volatile. They can strip paint if you use limonene or pinene or even the combination of both. You can definitely clean stuff and like it's paint thinner, paint stripper. Pure terpenes are very caustic in that regard. So too much of them can be harsh on the throat. I think sometimes too early in the harvest, that can be what makes you cough so much is just really terpy
Yeah.
bud.
I have had I just now talking it's triggered a memory and I have had the worst taste I've ever had from weed and that's just really really old weed and that was when I discovered upon an outdoor harvest when I was pulling it. So what I would do when I had my outdoor harvest is I always grew not on my own property but somebody else's property that allowed me to rent it out to and we'd work a deal they'd get part of the harvest or something. But when I would harvest them, I'd harvest them a plant at a time, maybe two to three. But I'd just throw a tarp down on the ground, saw the trunk, let the plant fall down, and wrap it really tight like you would a Christmas tree. And you can put two or three of those in your truck or a trunk, and slam it shut and get down the road and don't stop anywhere, go straight home. And I used to hang them in my garage because I didn't really have a big enough space for an outdoor plant. And I was hanging up my outdoor plants, and I noticed, oh shit, there's a whole branch from last year that hung up here now a whole year in the heat and in the cold and freezing and everything else. But I was like, I'm still gonna smoke it. I'm still gonna try it. How can I not? And that stuff is like if you imagine, like if you were ever a kid in the fall and you raked up the leaves that fell down and you jump in the leaves, right? That smell, the smell of that instantly triggered my in my mind as I smoked this thing because it was that flavor. Like imagine the like dry fucking I don't know leaves that are, and it was just like most terrible smell or taste ever. So that is
Like mulch
definitely
the
the worst.
leaves.
Yeah, it was like most fucking dry leaves, and
Breeder Steve hates that with some Afghanis. He always shits on that particular flavor. It's
yeah,
not pleasant. I've also had that
no,
because like sometimes I'll leave a little bud in Ohio and like it's in I don't want to leave it in my, family member's house, but I'll tuck it away in like their garage somewhere, out of sight, out of mind. And I get back and you smell that and it's just so oxidized and just it smells like swampy, it's just gross. Like it's never good by the time we get back. I don't know why I always leave it for myself, like thinking, oh yeah, I'll get back and maybe it'll be good, or maybe like one of my brothers will smoke it or something while I'm
extremely
gone. But
Kawasaki,
yeah.
extremely stony though. So the
Oh, super
effect is,
stony.
yeah, the effect is definitely
Rough to
there,
choke
but
down though. Super
yeah,
rough to
yeah,
smoke.
not really worth it.
I totally agree. Noah, the grower, what would you say? Maybe I don't think I passed it to you yet. Is the worst flavor that you've come across?
Well, it was that big bud. That was horrible. Definitely something that I've grown, and then I don't really like older stuff either. So yeah, that too.
Yeah, old is not great in a lot of occasions. I think more often than not, stuff doesn't get great with like a super, super long cure. My barber, when I taught him how to grow, he had like three out of his four plants that he saved from the spider mites ended up tasting great. But I think it was like a Wi-Fi OG that in the worst way. I know I just went through all the different oils that I love. Tasted like uh if you've ever smelled like when somebody changes their oil on like an old like rusty farm truck or something, like just dirty old motor oil or like just nasty dark black whatever fluids come out of those types of machines, like mucky, dark, nasty shit. One of his strains came out tasting kind of like that. Just like oily, greasy in like the worst way, like brake grease or some shit. Like I don't know, it's just like bad, harsh chemicals. And funny enough, I do like a strain that's almost tastes like asphalt, but it wasn't like this one that I'm talking about was even harsher than that. The asphalt plant or all gas OG, it almost tastes like the smell of a blacktop on a hot day,
That sounds
but
terrible.
it wasn't
Oh,
too, it wasn't like as I know that's exactly how it tasted, but the high was fantastic. So I kind of choked that one down. And maybe there was a little bit of like gassiness that supplemented it that made me enjoy it. Probably because the name is All Gas OG. I think they got rid of the asphalt plant name because probably not the most appealing sounding. But that reminds me that Humboldt Seeds is up at the state fair where my wife was working a little bit, and she's gonna get a clone, and that's gonna be something else that I'm gonna start because going back to like Noah or somebody, I think it was Tao's expectation with the blueberry and not actually getting blueberry flavor. One that I have told about in the past is the pineapple upside down cake clone I passed on, and then a year later smoked it,
oh shit.
tastes like that, and they do carry that potentially. So I'm haven't been told yet exactly what strain she's going to come home with, but she's going back for the end of the fair and she's going to get some clones. So that's going to be mixed in to the projects and grows coming up soon. So I'm excited for that.
Alex,
But Tao, since we got you back, we
it,
lost you for a second. I was going to maybe toss it over to you and ask what was the worst flavor you've come across thus far? And you're muted if you didn't
You
notice it.
you asking me, Jack?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, I was preoccupied over here for a second. I don't know. I really haven't had one that I really, really hated. Um,
I'm with you
uh,
on that because the more cowbells, like they're really the only one that I've grown personally myself that I was like, man, this is just like not even worth smoking.
there was a bunch that had
But
no
almost
taste.
every other one was like,
a bunch had no taste, but
No taste.
and well, to be honest, like the Agent Orange was really so strong in orange and like orange peel. It was almost like corrosive. Like when I stuck my nose in there, it almost felt like it was singeing my nose hairs or something. But that was not totally unenjoyable
That's
too,
like
So, but that like, yeah, I don't know. I like it
I
all.
like those from the uniqueness perspective to show to somebody,
Right.
but
Oh, well,
smoking
yeah,
it
like
all the time, it's like it's
Yeah,
rough.
early on I grew a sour tangy that was so sour. It was so gross for me to I couldn't smoke the joint of it. I was like, "Oh God, what the fuck?" Now I wish I'd kept it because I know there's a lot of people that just love super sour shit and that would be like a hit.
yeah.
But
I say
I got rid
any
of it so fast because I was like, "Fuck, well, I'm not gonna make people fucking smoke this. What the fuck?"
but yeah, I say anything that is stupid loud, you should keep. Like even if you hate it, because like yeah, the that jar and the jar of the other one from Subcool, Pandora. Oh, Jack, no, it was Pandora. It was Pandora's box. And whenever I went out a couple times with a jar of that, whenever I opened it up, everybody was like, "What is it?" They tracked it down, like, "Oh, that's not smelling." And yeah, so but other than that, like yeah, some were kind of bland and some did have some earthy taste. Oh, that was like one of the other, like that spider plant. I grew out more than that one of that particular strain. And one was pretty decent, like compared to that spider plant, it had decent nubs, but it tasted like you guys were saying, a little green, a little hay. And I threw it in a jar, and since I just didn't smoke it, it ended up curing for like a year. And when I found that jar again and tried it, I was really impressed by how much it had changed. It was way more pleasant to smoke, and like yeah, it definitely changed. But
Lost that early hay, volatile organic compound.
yeah, that was like the first anything that I cured for that long just because I didn't want to smoke it. So like yeah,
That's a reminder to new growers if your stuff's a little hay, it might not come back, but if you let it cure a little longer, it might get through it. Usually not a good sign though. If it starts to smell like hay, it's pretty bad, I would say, generally. I forgot two runners up for my favorite flavors would be strawberry daiquiri from Subcool and Kyle Cushman, which was Kyle Cushman strawberry cough was the mother and Jack the Ripper was the father from Subcool. So it's like the Dank Bros collab. And like multiple people asked me like, did you grow this in like a strawberry field? Like, did you add strawberries to your soil? I'm like, no, it was just good breeding. And that one was spot on the nose. I wish I would have kept that clone for sure. And another one would be lesser known 3 Point Stance from Stayfly Farms. And it's like STAE, I think, Stayfly. But yeah, Stayfly. It's like a something GMO. Oh, it's a GMO Mac. And I think I can't remember the other parent.
Nice.
I think it might be like a hash plant though, like a 88G13 hash plant across the GMO Mac, and it had a really tropical Skittles flavor, and I just loved that. And I think either it was like tropical Skittles while it was alive, and then it cured into like sour Skittles, or vice versa. It might have smelled like sour Skittles while it was alive, and then it cured into tropical Skittles. But it actually tasted like the can like don't come after me candy company, but like that is how the strain tasted. I'm not calling it that. It was called 3 Point Stance. It just so happened to taste exactly like that candy, like spot on dead ringer. And at the time, it was just like a thing I won in a giveaway that I accidentally entered thinking it was somebody else. Because the dude's name was like Original Dankster, I think. And I thought it was Calco Dankster. So I entered it thinking it was a different breeder. And then I ended up finding out about this breeder because I grew his stuff out. It's like I wanted to give away. I might as well grow it out. It sounds pretty fire, and it was. And I gave the other strain that I popped from him away to my barber. It was like a strawberry banana cross to something, but it was really lanky, and I just had a tiny S10 at the time, and he grew it out and was super fire. So shout out to Stayfly Farms, aka the original Dankster, OHRIGINAL Dankster. Cool dude. He's got a beautiful family going over there and beautiful farm. If you haven't checked out his page, he's got a fucking beautiful garden, lots of food, all organic. They're doing it. I'm admittedly a little bit envious of the beautiful property that they've got over there and the beautiful dank he's growing. He's got an awesome strain called breadsticks as well. I see a lot of people growing that one. It looks really fire. I haven't grown it yet myself, but what I did grow was in my top three flavors. So I'll say that. And shout out to them. Love giving people the love and not focusing so much on the negative. But we are, it's nice to do the highs and the lows. And I think that we haven't touched on this stuff for a while. So we'll go to yield. Everybody knows mine. Jack Spiked Punch. That was my biggest yield ever to this day, still is. And I'm gonna try and beat that with my new tent, with my new strains, and maybe the Jack Spike Punch F2 when I get it from Doja. So shout out to Doja DNA. Spartan, what's your biggest yielder of all time, if you can recall?
Dude, I don't know.
Do you
It's
even weigh
actually
it up?
no, I don't. I used to
What
back
would you think
by the
though? I mean,
Killer
just
days.
looking and trimming.
I would say so GG4 used to in my caregiver days used to always crush it and yield, but I think I've grown ships since then for sure. Definitely commercial, but that's not even fair. I mean, we got up to 3 pounds of light uh commercially, but I don't do that at home. And I would say right now my biggest yield that I've grown recently is my Orange Vortex. That thing or Bliss, but it always fucking throws down. But she's a long flower, 70 days right now. I've got some in right now. So those ones always are fucking big yielders, but they're also like I'm not weighing them, so I'm going by the size of the bud. So that doesn't account for density, and I think the Bliss is less dense, honestly. So which is a good thing for
That's a big factor.
yeah, which I think is a good thing though for concentrates. We're gonna find out because I'm gonna send some to concentrate here this harvest now. So I don't know. I would say GG4 would be my classic response, and then probably my Orange Vortex, which was a Orange Dream Haze cross to Vortex. Right now, that Orange
If
Vortex was
70
ridiculous.
days, if 70 days is a long flowering, which I'll give you that, it is compared to a lot of stuff. What is your average flowering time for your personal home grow?
I like 9 weeks for an average. I consider 9 weeks average.
63?
Yeah, 62, 63, and then I consider you're getting long when you're into 70, 77 in that range, and anything 77 plus, I consider you're long as fuck. You better be fucking badass for me to invest that much time.
Like GMO, I think a lot of people go 77, 78, and that's one of
77
the
is
longer.
yeah, we got exciting news, not to change the subject, but the Trichome Forge, shout out to my buddy Baked Pone. If you'll follow him on Instagram. And Trichome Forge, he's out of the light, so I love to always fucking pump up his Instagram because that just makes me happy. He's trying to exit out, and I'm like, oh, you're getting popular. You got to stay around. And so we just got a cut from our buddies at Deep Roots Tissue Culture, and they have a cleaned cut of GMO, and we have our own cut of GMO, and we're going to run them side by side, and we're going to see if we can see any difference whatsoever with them growing right next to each other in the same environment, same, lights, everything.
Hell
So that's
yeah.
going to
I
be
love
fun.
this shit. Citizen science. This is what it's all about. Why not? Right? Because like you'll never know. And who knows like what the clean thing might have cleaned up and what yours might have picked up. Or if there's some epigenetic change or some clonal variation, whatever we want to call it, something might have changed in the lifetime of both of those plants. And it's like a grow off, but with yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like how fun. You're gonna get to smoke two
I,
great
just to tell
plants.
you, our results so far was um, so this was our first experience with getting a tissue cultured cut. And this just was fresh out of tissue culture. Shout out Rachel. She walked us through. It was pretty cool. These were fresh, so she gave us a few extra because she's like, these are just like fresh out. They don't even have the what do you call the layer on the outside of the leaf that's like waxy layer? I thought it was not epidermis, that's skin, but something like that. Whatever the hell that covering is. So you have to like be really careful about hardening them off. You can't just throw them anywhere because they don't have that waxy coating. So you have to do this like an hour with the dome off and then back on, then maybe 3 hours, and then you got to really baby them. And I'm telling you that like we had one of them that had roots coming out of the little plug they're in. None of them else had roots coming out of the plug. And that I'm not kidding you, some were this tall. Some were literally this tall. Okay. So we sent we sent him over to a buddy's who is very meticulous and like gets a kick out of doing stuff like that. We're like, all right, we got the perfect guy for that because we don't have the patience. We got pictures today. It's been like a week. Their clones are like this. Like not only have they been hardening off, they're fucking growing like mad. So That's not normal. That's not the results we usually get with GMO. So I don't know if it has something to do with maybe something they put in the the clone blocks or whatever that gives them a little bit extra growth or
You
whatever.
have to use some sort of hormones for tissue culture. From the
Yeah,
research that I did, it can be gibberellins, it can be other things, but if it's gibberellins, it's going to make it sprout
but
really
it didn't
lanky.
look stretchy. If it's your brilliance, I'd expect super stretch, but it wasn't really that. So I don't
It's a
know.
combination though, because to keep it small, they give it other
Oh,
growth
I see. To
almost.
suppress it.
Yeah, so you can sort of dial in ratios and um, essentially keep it in a freezing state where you can like lock it in to a certain size. If you know the amount of light and nutrient and all that different stuff, like it comes down to just like calculations, right? And you feed that little agar essentially, and
Yeah.
the plant survives. And that stat or status, I don't know how to even describe it. It doesn't really feel like a plant to me at that point, but it really is still live genetic material that is ready to be propagated. And if you do it correctly, some people can get pretty impressive growth rates. Even if I don't want to make it about like organic versus natural or whatever, it's just cool that it's an option because for a long time
Yeah.
people have just lost genetics and not been able to bank them and not been able to clean them up and just said, hey, well, hopefully find something else. But really, I think GG4 is like a one in a million, easily. Think about
Yeah.
all the different people growing all these different plants. There's only been one Josie Wales and only been one GG4, and Ross, but rest in peace to both of them. And it's just a strain that will continue to stand the test of time. But I think we are getting deep into it now. We're over the hour mark, and we've got a couple other categories that I want to get to. We were just talking about flavor. Maybe we talked about yield, or we're talking about yield. And I don't know if Tao has said his biggest yielder yet.
Nope, not yet. And that time wreck, I believe, I don't really, yeah. Like when I started cultivating cannabis, it was because I wanted good smoke and I didn't want to pay $70 an eighth. And I didn't care about yield. I had more than enough for myself, and that's all I needed. And even now, even my whole entire career, I didn't care about yield. I wanted to smoke the best weed that was available. But the time rack was like that bitch checked all the boxes. It yielded. It was killer. It stank. It tasted good. It hit you good. It was everything. Um, so I believe that was the best yielder that I had. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really stands out. That there was a couple plants that I had that didn't look like they were yielders, and but I liked the taste so much. So what it was like yeah, back in that time, I didn't even know what an OG was or anything, but it was like little golf balls going up the stick. Whereas most of my other plants had the heavy main colas, either a spear or a nice fat chunk at the top, right? But this was all little nugs up and down. But when I pulled it apart one time and I weighed all the little ones, because they were all over the plant, the little nugs. So it ended up being about even. It looked like it would yield half of what the other plant did, but they ended up yielding about the same. So I was really impressed. That was the one time I weighed them because I was really curious how much I was like, how much less that other plant was giving me, but it pretty much was even. So
It is amazing when you actually weigh it out because I thought I got ripped off one time when I was back in the purchasing days, and somebody sold me like an eighth or who knows what it was, might have been a quarter, and it looked like an eighth. And I was like, this is bullshit, dude. I got ripped off. He goes back in the day, drive up, pass him some cash and get a bag and dash quick as possible and try and stay out of sight of law enforcement type thing. In my Ohio, I think I was in middle high school. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But fucking, I was so pissed off, and then I got home and ground it up, and it was. I think we were smoking blunts at the time, and it broke down to be exactly what we would get out of whatever that denomination was. If it was an eighth, it'd get like, I don't know, three blunts. If it was a quarter, we'd get seven blunts or something. We put about a gram per blunt, maybe a little more if you felt like hooking it up. We call it like a half track blunt. They call it an eighth a track. I don't know why, but uh, 3.5 was a track, and a half track was a 1.7 or 1.75 gram blunt, and those were fatties, and that was living large back then when you were spending 50 plus on a track. So it yeah, 60 for the good stuff, and it could be as much as 70, like Tao was saying, for the very best. And if that even came around, where I was in Ohio, often it just didn't. Uh, Reminds me a little bit that I've smelled some skunky stuff recently, just like around. Maybe it's actual skunks, but like I'm pretty sure it was people smoking. And like even once it was on my wife brought some stuff home with skunky. I was like, damn, it's nice to see skunky stuff again. Not like pure skunk, but skunky for sure. But yeah, nice to not pay those 70 and eighth fees. Even now in the legal market, if you go and buy a good eighth after taxes and everything, the good stuff's going to cost you about that much. So it is so worth growing your own. And unless you're getting it for free somehow, like you have a lovely wife who works in the industry or something, or people just send you stuff for free in the mail because you review cannabis. Um, but not everybody's in that situation. So keep growing your own and don't support fucking child labor, whether it's cartels, unregulated, or glasshouse farms in the regulated market. So fuck them. And from what early reporting is showing, while they are complying with the raids, I think that's just to get out of paying those people. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were the ones who reported them. So it's a shady industry, and you never know who you're supporting because they provide a lot of different brands. So people white label, and if you aren't growing your own, you really don't know where it's coming from and who's supporting it. And we've talked about this in the past, but there's cartels for many countries in the US cannabis market, legal market, basically money laundering and cleaning up their money and investing in legal cannabis industries where they can, because they're making plenty of it outside the regulated market. So it's a interesting market. But getting back to the yield, it is a interesting when a bud is more dense like that, and you break it up and you're just like, what the fuck? Like this is sometimes it does risk molds and mildews and things like that if you have a humid environment and you can't get it under control. So that's something to consider. But I do think weighing your harvest is, at least on a new strain, can be insightful because sometimes you might just assume it's a smaller yielder, like a OG that's popcorn buddy, or like the golf ball nugs that are super dense, versus like a big fat fluffy bud that might actually break down to pretty much nothing. So important to weigh it out and dry it out and cure it properly. But all that stuff's well known by most people here. Moving on to, we were just talking about yield, worst yielder. What's the worst yield you've come across so far, Spartan? We lost Noah for anybody who's listening. He dropped out at some point.
Did you just ask me what my worst yielder was?
Yeah, and then I mentioned that Noah dropped out for anybody because I,
Oh,
I had forgotten to mention that earlier. And first people that are listening, they might not be able to notice because they can't see his little black square.
okay, cool. Yeah, shout out Noah. Hope everything's okay, man. My worst yielder, I'm trying to think of what that was. I remember, honestly, I can't remember like my all-time worst yielder. It'd probably be like not making it to the end, like a zero yield. But
Not to harvest.
but like my best smoke worst yield was this Chem Dog, and that's why ultimately I got rid of it. And it's one of those ones I wish I'd have kept because it was like the frostiest, most beautiful, great smoke, but never would yield for me worth a fuck. And this was still probably 3, 4 years into me growing, and I just whatever. And I wasn't in organics at the time. I was in cocoa and feed and salts too, I think I remember. But yeah, there's something I didn't like about that because it sure as fuck didn't want to yield for me. And that's why I ultimately got rid of it. Yeah, it would have been that Chem Dog. There's one thing I do before, well, it's not like we're gonna run out of time. We got time, but it's on my mind, and I know I forget shit easy because I've been smoking, but I want to bring up because it's important. Um, this Thursday, the 17th of July, which just so happens to be my birthday, which I thought was hilarious. They're organizing another lobby day here in Lansing, Michigan. And the reason for this is because they're trying to pass this law, which allows for roads, which would make Michigan one of the few states that allow roadside saliva testing. And it's getting a lot of positive traction because of the many things it does test for, but it's like a test for over 109 or 110 substances. But one of them is cannabis. And what's ridiculous is that flies in the face of the laws that we already have in place for medical cannabis and recreational cannabis to have it like in your saliva. And this law will allow them to uh, roadside test you, saliva test you statewide. And I believe if you refuse that test, it's they haul you in for a blood test. So that's kind of serious. And so we're going to be talking to the politicians and we're going to be bringing up the fact, lots of facts about how cannabis is medicinal and can stay in your body for long periods of time. And that if they would just take out the cannabis part of it, the test, that we could maybe get behind it. But it's a little ridiculous to um, take a whole section of your voting populace and now put them at risk when they were had a law protecting them. So if you're interested, you can get all the information on the Michigan Weedsters Instagram or their webpage. And I believe we're going to meet up there at 9 a.m. at I can't remember what building, but one of the buildings up there right downtown Lansing by the Capitol building. So yeah, thanks. Thank you for letting me use the platform to get that out there. But yeah, that'll be fun. I'm gonna be out there on my birthday, fucking talking to politicians, tell them what's up.
It's in your honor. That's got to be why it's on that date,
Yeah,
celebrating Spartan
I
growth,
was like, this is perfect.
doing the good lobbying. I just bumped my mic cord. Is everything, can you hear me now? Is everything still straight? All right,
Yes, I
cool.
can hear you now. Yep, you sound good.
Sometimes a while back it got like robotic after I'd bumped the cord. I'd come back and be sounding all different. But yeah, we're talking about yield prior, but I do think that's a great cause and don't mean to diminish that. And I do hope that people support that. And I think that it's important because I saw that I take for granted because I follow so many different pages that I see this stuff very early. I hear about it often and I make sure it's not happening near me. I actually was one of the people that in San Diego did the testing for DUI and cannabis. They like gave you a vape to inhale or something, like a vapor bag from like a volcano, and it could be filled with like a false vapor or with cannabis, and then they test your driving ability. And I like passed with flying colors, and I was definitely part of the real cannabis group because you could taste it versus the artificial stuff. And it's just funny because I think they want to find that people are going to have impairment when there's cannabis in their system, but often maybe they'll throw my data out because I'm an outlier. But I think there was enough people like myself in the San Diego area that can have cannabis in the system and still operate perfectly functional. It's about impairment. If you're impaired, you shouldn't be driving. I don't care if it's cannabis or alcohol or otherwise. There's some people that can't make it up a staircase after they smoke a few joints, right? They shouldn't be driving their car then. But there's some people that can smoke 20 joints and maybe, get in their car and drive home, and it's not going to impact them the same way. It just depends on your understanding of the plant and your own body because people have different tolerances and that should be understood. And like Spartan said, even if you're not actively using, it can stay within your system for a long time, depending on literally your makeup. So at that point, it just becomes discriminatory against obese or overweight people because people that have it stay in their system for a longer amount of time, even in your saliva, it's going to stay in a longer amount of time, storing in the fats, and you have more fat in your cheeks and your mouth and things like that. So unfortunately, it's a discrimination against cannabis users and heavier people. And it's like, what the fuck? Why do we have to? I understand wanting to keep people. I think that they should have legitimate impairment tests that aren't like a trick to get you into getting a DUI. Sober people fail DUI tests because
Yeah.
officers are trained to make it difficult. A good officer will use officer discretion if they realize, all right, 80, 90% of the stuff they're doing just fine on and they're actually sober. Some people just can't do it because they have a bad hip or a bad knee or whatever it is. And so maybe they'll just do a breathalyzer or whatever. But in this case, they're doing more of the saliva and it's just feels like invasive of people's privacy. And until um, you demonstrate that you're not competently driving, I think, granted, you don't want to wait until people are dying, but it's, we don't want to be in a nanny state where people
Well, I
are
feel like I
being
hate to
punished
be,
for medicine
yeah, and I hate
that
to
they're
be,
not even using while they're driving.
I hate to be cynical guy, right, cynical, but I'm always cynical when it comes to cannabis. And the way I look at it is like we had recently kind of a win with the with Supreme Court in Michigan that's made a ruling that's saying, the smell of cannabis, because we have medical patients and a medical system, the smell of cannabis can't be used as probable cause for you to continue further. Of course, it's going to smell like it's Michiganja. It's going to smell like weed, man. You can't say that. That gives you probable cause. So that was good. And now I'm thinking, oh, this is their workaround. You know what I mean? This is their fucking workaround. So,
Yeah, it sucks because I know people that don't even use cannabis that work in the legal industry, and when they get pulled over, they're like, "Hey, I work at a grow," and then the cops are like, "Oh, okay, no worries." Like, they might try to search the car or whatever, but I think at this point it's not probable cause here either. And it wasn't in Ohio when I lived there, but making the officer aware of that got me pulled out of my car and had my ass whooped and handcuffed. So
yeah.
handcuffed first, and then fucking slammed into the car and slammed on the ground. So sometimes even if you're in the right, you get fucked around and thrown through the system. So it's a bitch. I hope that it doesn't go through, and I hope that cannabis policy continues to move forward in the positive direction, like we've seen a lot of happening. I will say welcome back to Noah the Grower, who maybe lost connection or had to drop out for a few minutes, but cheers, Noah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Family, my brother-in-law called me, and I've been waiting for that phone call. He's like a journeyman construction guy, and like I need something done in my bathroom, and he's busy working on my other sister's house, and so I'm just like, oh shoot, Jason's calling, and I tried to like play it at the same time, but it just didn't work, so I had to take
It's
that
all good,
call.
man.
Sorry.
Those guys are worth their weight in gold if
Oh,
you have a
dude,
good
yeah,
one. I mean, it sounds like they're
yes,
busy for a reason, right?
yo,
Uh,
he's way busy.
so
Yeah,
I love person who knows what they're doing. It's good to have them on your team, and glad you're going to get some good work done.
yeah.
But we were talking about yield earlier, and I don't think I passed it to Tao yet. What was the worst yield you've had so far
So
and you're
me
still
playing
muted, Tao?
elusive. I don't, like I said, I didn't really wasn't weighing all my plants all the time, so I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure that that spider one was
Just
might have been the, but yeah,
how about
offhand.
it had to be that one that you never yielded, right? That tiny little one.
Oh yeah. There you go. That one's a definite zero. I forget even what strain that came out of. Um, but yeah, that one was definitely had a that was a zero.
Was that a freak show, or was that not that strain? It was just happened to be that weird morphology.
That was just a weird regular seed strain. Yeah, that was no. I think I even asked the person who was it was if I could tell let everyone know. I'll have to check. I could check that right now. Yeah, maybe
That
I'll
was
show
funny.
some pictures of that minuscule guy girl. Yeah, I
And
really wasn't sure if it was a girl or a boy either because
It never didn't.
it never
Yeah.
flowered out. Even it was the most bizarro thing ever. But
Noah, I'm not sure if we got your biggest and worst yield.
Mm. Okay, so biggest yield, that's good. So right, you know what I mean? Like I said, that big bud yielded quite a bit, but it was trash. That Hawaiian haze. I think I have showed a video in our group chat a long time ago, but I mean I will. I mean, you're talking huge, huge buds. That was the reason why that I was so the weed was good, but it was a good yielder and it was really good weed, the holy grail. But I will say the lower yielded one, and it's on my Instagram. I grew it for quite a while, but I just got tired of how low yield was runts. Ironically, like it was a good plant and I liked the smoke and everything, but it was just such a low yield. I mean, literally, it didn't matter what you did. I tried it different ways and it was just a super low yielding plant. And I actually have one right now that I really love that is such a low yielder, but the weed is so good, and that's that Sherbaceo plant. But the yield is pretty low, but the weed is so good that I just live with it.
I'm fairly sure, I think the guy Ray Bama who found runts found it in a greenhouse. And so that's probably one of the things that's like certain stuff doesn't translate from greenhouse to outdoor or greenhouse to indoor. It might just be the best in a greenhouse setting. I think Mac 1 sequence grew it in a greenhouse and it actually didn't have as much of the issue with it being a slow vegger. He said it kind of grew pretty decent when he put it under the sun in a greenhouse setting.
Yeah, that thing grew nice outside.
So, sometimes that's just the key is sometimes the plant's not meant to be indoor as much as indoor. You can control the consistency, environment, etc. I do think indoor 9 out of 10 times is going to be the best quality. But there's some really savage greenhouse and outdoor growers in the right places like Humboldt and Santa Rosa and uh, the whole Emerald Triangle, Mendocino County. Um, but yeah, it's a matter of the setting. Here's Tao's freaky plant.
Let me put up my volume here. All right. Let me see, where am I now? All right. So, yeah, this is how it started out. And, now I would think it had populating or something, but it kept growing. I don't think it had a disease or anything. It was just not right, whatever it was. And yeah, speaking of inside outside, I ended up bringing it outside to try and get it to re-veg and stuff. But there you get a little view of how little it
That one
is.
wasn't going to do it anywhere.
Right. So I kept trying though, and yeah, let me go to the next post because then you can see the thing actually had some resin on it, which and I thought for a second it might have been seeded because it had these like you see like that whatever that is right there. But when it was done and finished, there was no seed in it. It was the most bizarro little plant I ever grew out. And here is a better
It was like a year plus that you
yeah,
grew this thing.
it was like a year at least. And then here's the actual size. So they like you can't really picture how big it was, but that's the entire thing in front of a light and back of a lighter. So yeah, it was really minuscule and but yeah, it was really bizarre.
When you think you've been patient with a plant, just remember Tao.
Yeah, and then at the end of it all, it just died in the container basically. Yeah, you can see it there starting to go. And yeah, I think I might have tried rolling. I don't even think I smoked a joint of it. I really don't think I did. But yeah, that one was pretty. That was the end of that one.
It's a bummer when they die. Like it's only very rare. I got in like a cut from Brandon one time, and I brought it home, and it was like already watered, and it just like stayed damp and just fucking died on me. That was a sad one because it was definitely a living plant. Like in his environment, I was super happy. I brought it to my environment, and whatever I did in the transportation process killed it. Uh, but it was definitely a young clone, so I just wasn't being sensitive enough with her. But shit happens. Life goes on. I've got plenty of Brandon seeds that I need to pop. But
Me
next up, I
too.
think I've got some killer crosses from him. My very first one's gonna pop in our the Project V because that was the last thing I tried to grow and then had to shut my grow down. And they were crushing it in veg. They smelled great. They looked great. I'm just like I'm gonna pop a bunch of them, like probably the rest that I have maybe, and maybe save a few because somebody is like I want some Spartan grown seeds. I might DM them and be like I'm gonna send you some if they're in the US. But we'll see. Let's see.
I could always
Next,
send you more if you need more. I got plenty of Spark. I got especially the Project V. That's what I have the most of because I did that on purpose. I have 4 plants worth in there, so I got a
that's
good jar.
awesome.
That was probably thousands. Let's see.
Hell yeah.
But
Oh yeah, that's a at least 1,000.
yeah,
Probably closer to like two or three.
which is awesome. There's that much more vortex to saved for the world.
Maybe after a year, fridge those puppies.
Fridge them? They're tough. This is Spartan grown over here. This isn't pampered grown.
You never know.
Good answer, Spartan.
I'm just saying with the Velvet Punch after a couple of minutes, and this isn't Spartan grown, but my F3s, I'm after a few years, even in Curador, like 60 degrees, I think I'm starting to see some viability. I'm gonna do a refresh. So it's I do admittedly have another grower who's just like, hey, I know that you said you've been having issues, but I just had one grow and I'm hoping it's a female. So they've got a killer Velvet Punch F3 growing right now, and I'm stoked for them, hoping that it's a female. And I think they might have even said if it's a male, they're going to breed with it. So shout out to that person. I don't know if they wanted to be named, so I'll just keep it private for now. But I think next up, we're going to do best potency of all time. And I've said
Oh,
mine already. Jack Spike Punch. I can't wait to get those F2s from Doja DNA. He's going to be sending them to me soon. He's got tons of seeds. He's been so, love that dude. He's fucking awesome. My greatest delivery, I used to work at a delivery service and he was one of my patients that worked there, and he was like the only dude who ever smoked me out, and it was on his own homegrown hash. And since then we've become good friends. So shout out to Doja, fucking the man. But yeah, potency. What's the most potent you've ever grown, Spartan Grow?
Oh, wow. It's gonna be, I would say, I'm gonna break it up a little bit. I'm gonna say as a like daytime sativa-esque potency, soaring high, it's gotta be Vortex. Project V, same thing, Vortex. For just your hybrid high, I'll say. Or at least the way I feel like it's somewhere in the middle is going to be Donny Burger for me. Donny Burger always cuts through. It's always perfect for that. And then for what make I keep saying for me, but it hits people different. But for me, for that sativa lockdown, going to sleep stuff, the Mac One for me puts me to sleep, man. It's perfect for that. So those are my three potency and effects together, I guess.
I love the Donny Burger. I feel like the Jack Spike Punch was more hybrid, and I'd call it the Donny Burger Phenos that I've come through to be more like indica or indica hybrid. Definitely more on the relaxing, sedating side. Not necessarily put you to sleep, but it did. We had a few of my wife's friends that smoked it, and within 30 minutes we were passed out on the couch, watching TV or whatever. And so, and it was like midday, no other things consumed. And it's just funny when some stuff hits people so hard and they're just not expecting it. I think a new strain will do that to people too. And Donnie, admittedly, even for me, as a heavy everyday user, just the flower, I can smoke that and like it gets me good. So if it's getting me good, I know it's gonna fuck people up that don't have a good tolerance. So like one big bong rip, which some people will take confidently, can really send them for a ride. It's like I think some people underestimate cannabis. Actually, a lot of people that aren't regular users. But once you start using it, it's like you can build a tolerance where it's not like a dangerous thing. But yeah, I think it's more funny than anything else. It's like you bit off a little more than you can chew, but it's not like you're gonna get hurt or anything. Just a little tired. The worst overdose on cannabis is a nap. So for some people it is a trip to the emergency room if they eat too many edibles and have a panic attack, or smoke too many dabs and have a panic attack. So uh, be mindful and know your limits, I guess, like anything. But potency is something that us regular everyday users benefit from because medically, if you can use less often, it lasts longer, it impacts you more, then you don't have to smoke as much, you don't have to vape as much, you don't have to eat as much, whatever it is. So ultimately, it becomes a health benefit. So I do think it's important to consider potency, not to say like go chasing THC or terpene profile or something else, but potency is something that we all love to chase after. And Donny Burger is definitely on my list of top potency. So I'm going to pass it next to the American one for his top potency.
Well, I would say there's a couple. The Ronberry seeds I got that I grew out like totally warped me. I wouldn't say totally warped me, but it was a different high than any other high. It's like, yeah, it was different, which was, and it impacted me really significantly. And yeah, I would like take a hit and yeah, I would be fucked up. So it was like stupefying. And actually, the very first weed we ever grew out, me and the kid, my buddy from high school went away to North Carolina for college, and he brought back seeds that his buddies were like, "Yeah, you guys should grow these out, grow them." So we grew them, and that shit got me. It was like I was drunk when I smoked that weed. It was bizarre, and I don't know if it was just because it was like the first really fresh weed and like untampered, untouched weed I really smoked. But that shit got me fucked up. And we brought it to the people. Me and him took a road trip down to North Carolina. I forget, it was North or South Carolina. And they were like, "How'd you grow this shit in the concrete in New York?" I'm like, that's not like that everywhere, man. Because, yeah, when you say you're from New York, everybody thinks you're from New York City, dude. It's just unbelievable. It's pretty funny. But that Ronberry,
If
and
you say
then,
you're from Ohio, people think you're from a cow farm. It's
right,
just like people don't have perspective if they haven't been.
right. It's all stereotyped. But that Ronberry got me stupefied. And that was like after two hits. And I was just like, yeah. That
Well, the
and
Romulan is called Romulan because like I don't know a lot about Star Trek, but I think they have like a dent in their head, the like Romulan people,
okay,
and the weed is like so strong it's supposed to make you feel like you have like a dent in
yeah,
your head.
it was really different, and I like yeah, but that's why I
It's like
liked it
headband
so
though,
much. It
like
got me
headband
stupid.
super strong, and it like feels like a
Right.
hat or a headband on.
And yeah, like some of the plants from Subcool definitely potent too. Um, the Pandora's box is always good. Always did the trick. Um, and yeah, that time work I always liked, but nothing like that. That Ronberry was like a different. It freaked with your mind in a different way, man. And I really loved it because it was like nothing else, and that's what I like. That's what I think I like most about growing out seeds. You get stuff that you never experienced before and unique. Yeah, that's why I like having things that nobody else has. I don't want there's a clone going around. Everybody's got it. Why do I have to grow? Why would I want to do it? Everybody's got it. Nothing special there. So that was my. But yeah. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Oh, the that one plant. It was called. I got from Mark Emery that I grew outside when I did that big crop and I had blueberry out there. It was White Widow by Ash Plant. And that thing, I tell you what, dude, I'd smoke a joint and I would pass out. I'd go to sleep. So I don't know if it was potent, but it was knock you out shit. And like I was telling somebody, my buddy, he's like the opposite. If something would make you pass out, make most people pass out, it would give him freaking energy. He took all of that from me. He loved it. He took every single gram I had. He took it, bought it from me.
You know,
So
Tal, there's an interesting thing I was reading. They say that in medicine, there's
I,
people that usually suffer from ADHD and
right,
those
yep,
kinds of
yep.
diseases. Their medicine does that. So when they take medicine, it's the opposite effect than what's expected. So I imagine that the people that are opposite are that way, or they
I bet
probably
you're right.
also
Yep.
suffer from ADHD. Because I have a buddy the same way. Exactly. It'll hit me exactly opposite almost every time.
Yeah. And that's always intriguing. Like, yeah, that's why when you go, you ask the bud tender, yeah, I need something to make me go to sleep. They should be like, listen, for most people, this is what happens, but every person is an individual and it's different and might affect you totally different.
That's why in my book I make the stipulation, this is how it impacted me, and these are what the general results of my friends, family, other growers in the community, and people online have come to. I try to get a consensus, but I say each endocannabinoid system is unique, so you have to try it for yourself. What's a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 to me might not be shit to you, So it's all a matter of perspective and endocannabinoid systems. And it's an interesting perspective because like ADD or ADHD, I think for a while they were giving like I think it was called methamphetamine salts, where like the drug that was given, so interesting to see that like written on a prescription bottle being given as like a pill, but it made people that were hyperactive relax. And so that's not the expected result, right? But it showed that they actually had that condition. And it's interesting because when you are dealing with medicine, it comes down to the individual. That's why they don't just give blanket recommendations. They have individual doctors. And it's important to, even on the caregiver level, consider each patient and their feedback. You got to listen to them. Don't just be like, oh, I give them Donny Burger and it's an indica for me, so it should be an indica for them. It's like, well, it's a hybrid for Spartan Grown. And, Mac 1 I've seen sold as sativa out here. So Spartan Grown, it affects him like an indica. It really just depends on who's using it and how long it was grown, because the harvest time can really impact how it affects somebody. If you take it to that 70 days versus taking it at 50 days, it's going to be quite a different plant. So just consider that those things are both being done. There's people in the commercial market taking things at 30 to 50 days. It's crazy. The 35 to 50, depending on if they're making concentrate or if they're just really trying to chop it down as early as possible. They get fast flowering stuff that finishes early.
Yeah, some
And
people believe on harvesting on a schedule because, every dollar counts. Some people, on the other hand, are, harvesting on the plant schedule. Like, what
when
does
it's
spec
done,
homes look like? Well, yeah, exactly. When's it done? And or some people can be like, I need the space. I've got room to come in behind it. But sometimes, it all depends on everybody's system. There's a million different things that can push a plant to when is the harvest window. Because that's always a struggle with me sometimes when somebody sends me a picture like, is this ready to harvest? Well, do you have time to let it sit or do you not have time to let it sit? You're wanting me to say one thing, but I'm not just going to confirm it because you want me to. Let me see a closer picture. Let's see what these trichomes look like, you know? And that's kind of what you have to do, I guess. You have to tailor it to each situation for sure.
It's always easier for somebody else to be like, oh yeah, make it wait another day or another week because it's not us who's going to be the one harvesting. Like they're ready to chop it down. It's still got white hairs. It's still green. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
let those hairs change over to orange. Let those leaves turn to, yellow or purple or whatever, orange, whatever they're going to turn,
Yeah.
pink,
And
but
everybody's environments are different, so it's hard. Like I can tell you how the plant reacted in my environment, how it did with the far red in the spectrum, how it did with, because far red does help them finish a little bit sooner. And you know what I mean? So when people ask me how many days, I'm like, I'm not going to tell you days. I'll tell you some weeks, but because it's going to vary depending on a whole lot of things. Environment, it's not you're not going to replicate my environment, that's for sure. But I can tell you what they did in mine, and hopefully you can get some information from that. But I can't tell you exact stuff.
that's the beauty though. It's like each grow is unique and we all sort of tailor it to what works best for our environment and our personal preferences. As much as you might want to just copy one person's system, there's going to be something in there that doesn't work quite right for you, your environment, your preference, etc. And even if it works perfectly for you on your first run, you might be like, hey, it'd be nice if I didn't have to measure pH every time, or if I didn't have to mix nutrients every time. Maybe I can try out the organics now that I got this down. I got 6 harvests in a row that I'm crushing it. I've got a bunch of weed in my weed fridge or whatever, and now I want to maybe try something different, go into a different media. And I think many of us have changed throughout the years from one media to another for one reason or another. And I don't think that any one is any better than the other. I think if we're being honest, we can all grow dank at every single one. If you were like, hey, Jack, there's a new ban on growing in sphagnum peat. Well, I happen to use sphagnum peat or whatever, Canadian sphagnum peat and the peat moss, whatever. If they're like, hey, you're banned from growing with that, I'd say, okay, I've got a lot of other options. There's cocoa. There's other soil bases that you can make. There are tons of options. You can grow deep water culture. You can grow in the rock wool. You can grow a million and one ways, right? So it's like the biggest limitation is often ourselves. Our mind is often a limit. And I think sometimes it's fun to do these best and worst because it brings out some of the extremes and reminders of what makes something good or bad or effective or ineffective. I don't think that this one matters that much. I think it matters less and less these days. And I actually took it off of my rating scale for, you know, when I get a bud from somebody, I'll tell them like the smell, the potency, and some other attribute. But I don't give like, too crazy of a feedback. But I used to have bag appeal on there, and I deleted the bag appeal because I just don't think that it matters enough to really warrant considering. But some people out there do care about how the plants look, and I will just throw it out there for a quick one. What is the best looking plant you've ever grown for one reason or another? I'll pass it to Noah the grower because I know you've grown some really beautiful buds over the years and some frosty stuff that's nice for the camera. So, what would you say is the prettiest looking buds
It's
in your
funny.
garden all
I,
time?
I was just looking through some of my Instagram posts trying to remember stuff. And there's a reason why I have a lot of do crosses. The original do that could have also been my take on, low yielder because it was a super low yielder. But it's such a good plant when it's grown right. And it does have great bag appeal. I mean, I'm talking like when you take it out of a bag, if you have it in a sandwich bag or even a jar, like it'll almost like stick to the side of it, and there'll be like that like residue on the side of it, just sticky, just the fat trichome heads. Like, yeah, the original Dosey Do, when it's done right, man, it's pretty good.
It's a great pick. I definitely think a lot of the stuff in the cookie lineage has some good looking buds and makes for good Instagram photos and things like that. Spartan grown. It looks like you just took a nice dab over there or
Yeah,
a
yeah.
hit of something. What would you
Nice
say
dab
is
of
the
chocolate.
most, ooh, yummy. What's the most Instagram worthy or best looking plant you've ever grown?
Man, best one I've ever grown that I don't have anymore is Viper City OG. I love that plant. It's a purple, super purple, velvety plant. It's so nice. And then that I have now is Mac One. First Mac One by far. Mac One's the one that is like that's one of the ones that I'm confident that when people send me pictures and they go like, "Do you think this is the cut?" That's one of the strains, that and GG4 that I think I can fairly confidently recognize on just looking at the plant and the bud structure. And it's just I've grown it so many times again and again and again and again and again. And there's a reason for it because I just love it.
Nice to have pretty buds. I do like a Instagram worthy bud. I think that's one of the things that admittedly drew me to. I showed it earlier, the spiked punch, which I do think might be one of my better bag appeal in terms of how the buds looked on a live plant, like good frost. I haven't grown a lot of stuff that has that kind of pink resin like that. The cherry pie, I think, was pretty photogenic. That one's not the best pick. I think this is probably the better photo, but that is definitely one of the better looking ones I think that I've been able to bust out in my old tent. And then the Velvet Punch, I think, is nice looking, good purple, good frost, and
Velvet Punch would probably be my third pick. That one was really nice too, man. I really like the ones that I had. I had a couple that were just really nice and they're almost that velvety purple again. Yeah, that I love that.
they were pretty. They smelled nice as well. I'm a big fan of this cross. That's why I took it to the second and third generation. I'm even actually more excited about the spike punch, admittedly, which I think is a little bit less bag appeal, but the high and the potency were even higher. Like I'd say like the average Velvet Punch is like a 9, 9.5 potency, where the average Spike Punch was like 9.5, almost 10 out of 10 in the potency. So, but this is definitely one of the prettier looking plants that I've been able to bust out in my tiny little tent. And when I showed the buds to people, they're like, the Harvest Cup people, they're like, you should enter our competitions. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for
I have people
the
that
offer, but
I want to hear everybody's opinion on if you were invited a to enter a cannabis cup, what's your opinion? And I'll tell you mine first just to get that out of the way. Usually my first question is what's in it for me? I have to give you product. I have to pay money on top of that. Why? Why would I do that? Why can't I just smoke that product and enjoy it? Um, so I usually turn them down. But go ahead.
no, I mean, I'm with you on that. It's like you're giving away something that you worked hard for free. And when a lot of people would offer to reimburse you, at least for your costs, or hook you up with whatever they'd normally pay for it. And it's just it's a passion when you love growing so much that you bust out something that you feel is a legitimate artisanal high quality product that is not commonly available. Like Tao hit it on the head earlier. You're growing shit that no one else has. That's the main thing for me in growing. I have access to every one of the cuts of every whatever, and from home growers to commercial growers to I could grow it myself if I wanted to get the cut. But when I pop a new seed and I find a new strain that's killer, um, or if I come across a cut that I can make just express itself in a fantastic way that is to the note, that flavor, and with lots of potency, then it's like a feather in your cap. It's a arrow in your quiver. It's a tool in your tool belt. And as like a breeder or a aspiring, I still can call myself an aspiring breeder because I want to become one of those legitimate ones one day, like a breeder Steve, or one of those people that does it at scale and has more quality controls. But I aspire to, put the best quality shit out there that I can and hang on to the best shit that I can. That's why I'm really liking this more dedicated setup with my space, even though it's not huge. I think it'll be more easy for me to clean and maintain, not being like tucked into a confined area. My old one was literally inside of a closet. This one's going to be in an open space so I can enter it from all sides and just cleaning, getting in and out, and working with the plants will be a lot easier. So I'm super excited. The box is gonna get opened up tonight. Just gotta go through my old place. I'm gonna have to do a walkthrough before I hand over the keys. And I'm officially out tomorrow of my old place. And I've got all my stuff at my new place. So it's a fantastic feeling to be all the way in here. And I'm probably just gonna fucking wet some seeds tonight to really put a fire under my ass. So
Oh, dang.
that way we'll be more motivated to get all the shit together. I have the lights, I have the pots, I have everything I need. I got the soil. I mean, I literally have everything. So I'm off to the races. But with that said, we got like 10 more minutes, and I think we could do a few more best and worst real quick. We're still talking about looks, I think. I don't know if I've gotten to everybody yet. Maybe we could talk with Tao about maybe his prettiest bud so far.
There's a few of them I would say, but one that stands out that would be like an IG one was that TKN05 Haze by AK Bean Brains. That thing was pretty much photogenic, like perfectly. But I just was scrolling through my IG. There's quite a few that I didn't label what they were that are pretty damn good. Yeah, there was a point when I was like, like it doesn't really matter what it is as long as it's beautiful and nice and good. But I definitely remember a sun-grown Godiva plant. I mean, was it God? No, it was Godiva. It was Godbud crossed with cheesequake plant that I had outside, and the thing had pink pistils. I have pictures of it somewhere. Pink pistils and
I
frosty
love
all
that.
over. Which,
I almost only ever see it
yeah,
outside. The pink, I have
yeah,
an Instagram saved like reels or not reels, saved like
right.
photos
Yep,
of
yep.
all pink pistol plants, and
There you go.
99% of them are outdoor.
Yeah, definitely. I'm under the influence. Probably UV light that makes it through that. I don't know about, but that makes it look really pretty and unique. And you got that. I think I had one plant that had some red, or I mean, purplish resin glands actually, which is even more rare, which is really freaking cool. But
Yeah, because you have a lot
the
of purple plants
one,
that wash like gold, right? The resin is gonna come
right?
out
Yeah.
like resin, and the plant could be pure
Even
purple.
when
The water's purple, everything's
the
purple except for
water's
the resin.
purple, yep, but the resin, yep. And then I remember a godbud plant that, like, yeah, that's why I wanted to hit her with cheesequake pollen because she was just like chunky and white with resin. So those are the two I remember standing out. But yeah, like every single Jack the Ripper or Pandora's box I grew out was frosty as fuck. And yeah, there's a bunch of them. There was one I grew out. There's a dude named Dirt Farmer that sold seeds. I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but he had one called Purple Haze that I grew out that was just frosty. The stems were frosty. The yeah, everything had resin on it, which was really awesome looking. But yeah, so that's about it, I'd say. I could think of off my top of my.
I don't know that. I guess one of my least photogenic would have been probably one of my least favorite plants, which was the more cowbell, going on the negative side, and probably hard for us to remember because they were not notable. But Spartan, do you have anyone that was like really ugly looking, or that stood out for being just not the prettiest?
That was just ugly? No, I never, no, no, I didn't really consider it even being ugly, other than when the one that AK-47 that got really bad hurt me. I got, I found one that,
That's ugly in its own way.
yeah, that's super ugly, man. I'm gonna share one real quick. This one was, I thought was just pretty the way it faded. And this was I don't know if you guys can see that, but this was a really old
Nice
one.
and pink.
Yeah, it went like a really light purple color on the leaves, which was a cool thing. But that was a King Hakan. It was an old tester. GG4 times locomotion. I was trying to go back and find pictures of that Viper City OG to give you an example, but I'm still looking. It's going way back.
That's a good sign. You've grown lots and lots of strains.
Oh man, this is a cool one. This was a headline. I gotta show this one. This
I mean,
is
collectively, we've had to grow several, like hundreds at this point between all of us. Maybe one of you individually has hit 100 plus.
This was when I got to grow in a pig pasture or whatever you call it, pig pen. So after the pigs are harvested, I got to throw plants in, and this one was headlights, and just had these just monster colas.
Wasn't Headlights the one that tasted meaty?
That was yeah, that was headlights. Yes. Yeah,
And it
they
was
smell
grown in a
so
pig
sick.
pasture.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This is the top of the barn right here. This is the roof of the barn. So I don't know what that is. 8 foot, maybe six, at least 6 foot.
Those are some beautiful plants.
Yeah, that was a long ass time ago, man. That 407 weeks ago. Here we go, 2017.
It's fun, man. We've been at this a long time.
Yeah, it's crazy to go back that far and see all that stuff.
I think I was growing Blue Dream in 2017.
Yeah, I grew way more than 100 strains, definitely way more. 'Cause,
That's
yeah, when
awesome.
I started, I was growing bag seed, so there was no strain. There was just bag seed. So
Yeah, what do you even call those?
every other one was like every
Heirloom,
bag was
bag seed.
different.
They count. They count. Every single one
Yeah.
counts.
So
I think even individual plants, like the more plants that you've grown, like the more data, the more information, the more knowledge you have of the plant, the more stewardship you've had of the plant, the more understanding you've got of what's possible. Unless you stick to like one very s- specific realm, but even then, you're gonna just come across different phenos and unique and weird shit because it's nature. You're gonna come across oddities and mutants and runts and winners, unicorns that just outshine everything in the room. That is a beautiful, very purple, very orange. Who's sharing this right now, Spartan?
Yeah, this is this is the one I was talking about, the Viper City OG.
That's beautiful.
It's not a great clear picture, but that thing was so fucking awesome. I love that fucking strain.
My buddy grew one like that. It looked like a purple Bic lighter, like the same exact color, purple. It's just like that, just a real deep, rich purple.
Yeah, I can't believe there isn't more pictures back here of the actual plant of it growing. But yeah, that was one of my favorite ones to grow just because she was beautiful. This might be her. Yep. Cisa should be green and purple mixed, and then at the very end, she just all purple out.
I love them when they're like that. I think, admittedly, if they get all purple very soon, tends to be uh, more on the medicinal side, like relaxing, inflammation reducing, but not necessarily the most wacky over the head potent.
Yeah, I don't remember that it was super potent, but it was very, very relaxing. It's just great. It was Moxie seeds. I don't know if they're even around anymore.
I remember them. I do remember Moxie seeds.
Yeah.
I can remember the logo and everything, but
Yeah.
man, it's funny. I hope they're still around. I hope everybody's still crushing it, but it's I got no hate for the purple. I definitely think it's got a place. And shout out to like Ken and the GDP and all the way back like the Great Bape, all the old school purple Urkels, the purple, just that those are the early ones that I can think of in terms of the when they started getting names. Before that, it was like Pakistani or, uh, Afghani or whatever, they had so many different countries of origin.
I think
Morocco
that's
still.
cool. I love that. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So,
Mexican,
just
brickweed or good Mexican. They had good Mexican cannabis for a long time too. Still do. Uh,
that's only when
but
there was like one strain from those regions. Now there's fucking hundreds. So you gotta start
yeah,
talking
I love
select.
that. Well, I bet you there was still probably a bunch back then, but we just only got X amount imported because one person would go over there, get a connection with one person, and then they'd do a little import export situation. They wouldn't want to have to, risk going to the 11 different regions where they have 11
That's
different
interesting.
strains.
I wonder how many actual strains were in the Mexican, brickweed. There's probably a mix.
Right. Well, with Afghani, I would guess it's probably just all from one region. I think there's a few notable ones that were the export regions, but now you have access to a whole bunch of crazy different ones. But with that said, we got about 1 minute left and four of us to wind down. So I'll pass it over first to Spartan Grown for final thoughts and shout outs and don't rush. We don't gotta do exactly two
I'm gonna
hours.
say it's 420 here, but yeah, shout out to the chat. That's first and foremost. I love seeing the chat. It's like, especially shows like this where we're like thinking back and like just now I was scrolling back and seeing how far back that was on Instagram, and I still see comments on those old ass posts by the same screen names that I see rolling past here in chat and YouTube, and that just makes my heart happy. So much love to all you guys for sticking with us. Um, and For real, much love of all the panelists. I just love it. It's like a tradition for me. I would feel like weird if I didn't have something to do on Sunday, to come on here and at least say hi and catch up. And this was a cool episode, even though it was a little cliche. It's like, what's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? It was cool to hear all the answers and to walk through memory lane a little bit. So much love, everybody, and keep growing.
It's been a long time since we've hit something like this, so I figured it was time to change it up. And I didn't have a specific topic, but I feel like this is an easy one. But it's kind of a walk down memory lane, and it could be a good reminder of all the different uniqueness that's in the plant. And I think that's one of the things that I love celebrating so much about the plant. The more and more commercial it gets, the more Bud Lightified it becomes at grown at scale and then just white labeled and mixed around. The more I want people like us to shine and the uniqueness to shine and the rare apple cultivar, the unique multicolored corn or whatever, the thing that actually tastes great and might actually be good for you, sticks around and continues to get the shine. So I love highlighting that stuff and the people that do it. And one of them is Noah the Grower. So final thoughts and shout outs for tonight.
Yeah, I had a great time. It was cool kind of going down memory lane with some of the old strains I've grown, and I always have fun with all you guys. So uh, I'm Noah D Grow on Instagram, and I'll see everybody next week.
I do love meeting up every Sunday. It's a commitment that I'm definitely willing to continue doing for years to come. This 2 hours is a joy for me. I love hanging with you guys and the whole chat. Like you said, I feel the same way. You look back at these posts and it's like, holy cow, it's the same people. And then you could see why people joined into the community when they start commenting. And it's just like going back, looking at like the sub cool streams and stuff, like seeing people in the chat, like, oh my gosh, like you're laying your mark. We're laying our digital footprint in the cannabis space. And back then I felt like such a rookie newcomer, just like baby in the space because I had no presence at all. Here we are these years later, and people like consider us something important, which is so funny. I'm always humbled when people come on and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm nervous to be on the show. Like, it's so nice to meet you." I'm like, I'm just like you. I am literally Joe average person. So don't put us up on too much of a pedestal. And unless you're talking about the next person, which is the American one.
Yeah, so I was about to chime in. I agree with Spartan on everything he said, but I must take issue with Jack Creed's dog. I'm superior, special, and above the rest. But I love hanging out with all you guys, everyone in chat. And listen, while I'm here, if I still can, I'm going to bring up my that Godiva plant that I just found some pictures of. So, but shout out to everyone in chat. I should have been in chat more. I'm lame like that sometimes. But yeah, there's some pink
Oh,
pistols
wow. Nice.
and like I think this was my buddy. Look at there's a
Beautiful.
little looks like a little riot. That might just be purple hairs, but um, yeah, some of it, them pink hairs really stand out. And then this is a
Yeah, they do.
Godiva. So even as I keep going here, you can see I was saying there was some, man, that was a little blurry, but like, yeah, this is indoor
Beautiful still.
Godiva. So this is like the one I was thinking of when I was saying kind of like it's white with resin and nice and chunky.
You
I
mentioned
guess,
White Widow earlier. That's the first I ever saw that was like a white resin plant like that back in the
yeah,
90s, early 2000s.
I realize now when I show my stuff, I think it's better than everybody else's, but it's nothing special. And like you were saying, a lot of times, sometimes you get special. Certain breeders obviously are above the rest, but I've gotten seeds from like people that are not breeders that killer freaking plants, killer strains, and yeah, like that. So I just want to shout out everyone in chat. I'm sorry I wasn't there more, and shout out to you, Jack, as always, for hosting because you're great at it. And when you're not here, it's like it's different. So thank you very much. And yeah, shout out to everyone. Keep growing, like Spartan says, and grow his love, like Doc says. And yeah, I hope we get some of them old timers back on here. It would be good to see Aaron the grower, Kyle, Doc, Zentanor.
I still put them in the email.
Okay,
Noah will
good,
see it.
good.
And Spartan will see it. I
Hey,
tag
hey,
them in the email, and
I'm gonna have to
they're still in the chat, so they're always
track some of
welcome.
them down and be like, yo, come on now, come on for a week. But other than that, yeah, shout out everyone. Love you all, and we'll catch you next week or in between.
Got to give them the big nudge for sure. And it's been a great honor to be able to share the panel with you guys. And I love doing this, and it's just been a lot of fun. That's what I'm really here for. It's the education, great people, both on the panel and in the community, the people that get to come on when we do open panels and everything. So we're just going to keep on rocking, keep on growing. And I'm going to shut this down so I can participate in that. I'm gonna open up my tent. I'm gonna start setting things up. So peace and love, y'all. Catch you next time. Jack Greenstock signing out.
Keep growing, Jack.